Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That question circling in your mind, the one you have not been able to answer for weeks. It stops being a question today. The enemy is working overtime for one reason and one reason only. He knows that the moment you discover who you actually are, his entire assignment against your life collapses. It all ends today. The confusion about your identity, the feeling that you were built for something greater but cannot locate it, the exhaustion of performing a version of yourself that was never real. It ends here. But hear this clearly, it is not ending because of coincidence. It is ending because of what you have already survived. Think back to that moment this week, when someone tried to define you, tried to place a ceiling on you, tried to remind you of your past mistakes, and instead of defending yourself, you went silent. You walked away. You let them have the last word. You thought that was weakness. You thought that was you shrinking again. But you did not know it then, that silence was the most powerful thing you have done all year. That was not retreat. That was the move of someone who already knows their verdict does not require anyone else's approval. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The divine did. This is a scheduled appointment written before the foundations of the earth, prepared specifically for the version of you that has been asking this question in private, in the dark, when no one else was listening. Stay until the very last second of this message. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the spiritual audit that reveals exactly who you were designed to be beneath every label, every wound, and every lie that has been layered over you. I am going to show you the moment this week when your true identity spoke louder than your fear, even if you missed it. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that seals this new understanding into your spirit, so the enemy cannot take it back. Do not scroll away. The version of you that has been praying for clarity, this is the moment it arrives. If you leave now, you leave before the verdict is read. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere has not just been uncertain, it has been disorienting, like standing in a room full of mirrors and not recognizing any of the reflections. Maybe you have been moving through your days wearing a face that does not belong to you, smiling when you are hollow, performing competence when inside you are asking a question so fundamental it frightens you. Who am I really? Or maybe you woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning this week and lay in the dark with that question pressing down on your chest like a physical weight, feeling like you have been living someone else's life and cannot remember when the exchange happened. You feel like a stranger to yourself, like somewhere between the person you used to be and the person you were promised you would become. The real you got lost in the middle. And in that disorientation, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. Listen to your thoughts right now. He is telling you that the reason you do not know who you are is because there is nothing significant to find. He is replaying every version of you that failed, every role you could not sustain, every time someone looked at you and saw ordinary. He is telling you that the confusion you feel is proof that you were mistaken, that the sense of greatness you carry is delusion, not destiny. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Psalm 139:14 says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and my soul knows it very well. Listen to those words. Your soul knows it very well. Not your performance, not your reputation, not the version of you that was shaped by other people's expectations. Your soul, the deepest part of you, the part that has been unsettled, that has been restless, that has been refusing to settle for a smaller life. That part already knows who you are. The unrest you feel is not evidence of emptiness. It is evidence of something too large for the container you have been placed in. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of someone who is lost. It is the weight of someone standing at the edge of self-recognition. It is the pressure of a seed that has been underground long enough and is now breaking through the surface. You think the fact that you do not have it figured out yet means you are behind. You think the confusion is a sign that you missed your window. But let me reframe your reality right now. The confusion is not the problem. The confusion is the doorway. You are not someone who does not know who they are. You are someone who is finally refusing to accept who they were told to be. That is not a crisis. That is an awakening. And it begins right now. There is something about the way God builds a person that the world was never meant to understand. The isolation wasn't abandonment. The silence wasn't absence. The stripping away of everything that once felt like security, that wasn't punishment. That was preparation. And if you've been sitting in a season that doesn't make sense, wondering why the doors keep closing, why the relationships keep ending, why you keep feeling like you're being set apart in ways that hurt, I need you to hear this. You were never being left behind. You were being hidden. And there is a profound difference between those two things. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let's go deeper into what this actually means for your life. The thing about being hidden is that it doesn't feel sacred when you're inside of it. It feels like rejection. It feels like you're invisible to the very people whose recognition you believed would confirm you. Imagine being a precious seed buried deep in the earth, unseen by any passerby. It doesn't feel like potential. It feels like being forgotten. It feels like you're invisible to the very people whose admiration you believed would be the sun and rain your spirit needed to grow. And so, most people do something that seems completely reasonable, something born from a deep human need for validation. They start chasing visibility before they've built the inner capacity to carry it. They reach for a platform, a stage, a spotlight, before the very character underneath them has been forged in the quiet fires of self-discipline and integrity. They reach for influence before they've finished being shaped in the crucible of obscurity, where the only witness to their formation is the divine architect. And heaven watches this frantic striving, this earnest effort, and quietly waits. Because God is not moved by your urgency, by the clamor of your ambition. He is moved by your readiness, and readiness is never announced by you. It is determined by Him in the silent, unseen laboratories of your soul. Think about David. He was anointed king while he was still a shepherd. He received the seismic promise of his destiny in private, in a dusty field, surrounded by his flock, not by adoring crowds. The echo of the prophet's words was the only fanfare. And what did God do next? He didn't send him straight to the opulent throne room. Oh no, He sent him back to the field, back to obscurity, back to wrestling lions and bears in the deep, unforgiving dark, where no human eyes could witness his courage, where no applause could reach him, where the only witness to his fierce, solitary warfare was heaven itself, observing the refinement of His chosen. And it was there, in that hidden, unvarnished place, that David became someone the immense weight and pressure of the throne simply couldn't break. Because the preparation didn't just fit him for the position, it forged the man who could not only survive the position, but also thrive within its relentless demands. The crucible of the wilderness, the unseen battles with wild beasts, the quiet tending of sheep, these were not mere chores, they were divine apprentices, honing his courage, his patience, his leadership, his reliance on God, all away from the corrupting influence of public acclaim. And here's where this truth plunges even deeper, touching the core of our experience. The delay you are experiencing, the seeming stagnation, is not evidence of God's distance or His forgetfulness. It is, in fact, potent evidence of divine investment. Every season that feels like waiting, like an interminable pause, is actually a season of intense, focused construction. You are not on pause. You are being profoundly built. And what is being meticulously constructed within you right now is something the next chapter of your life will absolutely, undeniably require. The sheer weight of what God is about to entrust to you, the magnitude of the assignment He is preparing, demands a foundation far stronger, far deeper, far more resilient than the one you are currently standing on. And He knows that with an omniscience that surrounds your very being, even when you, in your human frailty and doubt, do not. He sees the full blueprint, the finished structure, and knows precisely the materials and the time needed for its construction. But here's the part that most people miss entirely, the hidden linchpin where the real turning point of transformation resides. It is not just the external preparation, the skills honed, the experiences gathered, that truly matter. It is the internal agreement that you forge within yourself. Because you can be surrounded by divine opportunity, by open doors and echoing invitations, and still manage to self-sabotage every single one of them if the fundamental agreement you carry about yourself, the deep-seated narrative you hold within, hasn't fundamentally shifted. You can receive the promotion, the recognition, the next level, and still perform from a deep unconscious place of inner poverty, of unworthiness. You can receive the relationship, the perfect partner, and still contaminate its purity with the old, unaddressed wounds that fester within your soul. You can step into the brand new season, the exhilarating dawn of a new beginning, carrying the same broken, fragmented self-image you've always known. And when you do, you will inevitably, unconsciously, recreate the same familiar patterns in a brand new environment. The location changes, the landscape shifts, but the cycle, driven by the internal narrative, does not. And this devastating pattern of self-perpetuation is precisely the thing God is desperately trying to protect you from. This is why He takes His time with you, why the process can feel so protracted. It's not because He doesn't trust your calling. He authored your calling. He breathed it into existence before the foundations of the earth. He takes His time because He is meticulously, lovingly working on the one thing that ultimately determines how far you will go and, crucially, how long you will last once you finally arrive there. He is working on you. He is working on the unconscious agreements you make with yourself in the silent hours of the night, in the hidden corners of your mind. He is working on what you truly believe about yourself when no one is watching, when there is no audience to perform for. He is working on whether your identity is firmly rooted in the fleeting things you produce, the accolades you receive, or in the unshakable truth of who He declares you are. And that profound work of internal realignment cannot be rushed. That essential work cannot be bypassed or shortcut. That deep, foundational work is in fact the whole magnificent point. And coming up in just a moment, there is one pervasive pattern I need to illuminate for you, a subtle undercurrent that has been quietly running beneath the surface of every single setback, every perceived failure you have ever experienced. It is not obvious. Most people never even name it, never identify its insidious influence. But once you see it, once you recognize its signature, you will finally understand why certain cycles, certain recurring difficulties have followed you relentlessly from room to room, from season to season, and from relationship to relationship. Stay with me, because this revelation is a key. But first, this truth needs to truly land in the core of your being. There is a version of yourself, a familiar, comfortable, often smaller version, that you keep returning to. You return to it not because that version is an accurate reflection of your true essence, but simply because it is familiar. Familiar suffering, familiar limitations possess a gravitational pull that is almost indistinguishable from identity itself. You become so accustomed to the weight of a particular struggle, the ache of a specific pattern, that when God, in His mercy, attempts to lift it, a part of you instinctively holds on, not consciously, not with deliberate intent, but something deep within you resists the unfamiliar likeness. Because familiar, even when it is painful, always feels safer than freedom, even when that familiar is, in reality, a gilded cage. The Apostle Paul understood this profound paradox. He wrote about contentment from within the confines of a prison cell. Not because the prison was his ultimate destiny, but because he had already completed the arduous internal work necessary to remain whole, unbroken, and vibrant inside that physical confinement. He had decisively broken his deeply ingrained agreement with the false notion that his inherent worth was inextricably tied to his external circumstances. And that radical internal freedom, that unshakable wholeness irrespective of his outward conditions, is precisely what made him so dangerous, so potent, to every system, every power structure that attempted to contain him. Chains couldn't stop what had already been divinely freed on the inside. And this same immutable principle applies to you, my friend. What gets divinely freed within you during the crucible of your hard seasons is what will ultimately determine what cannot ever be taken from you in the next one. Now, once you grasp that fundamental principle, you are truly ready for this. The pattern I mentioned, the one running quietly, insidiously, beneath every delay, every disappointment, every frustrating detour you've encountered, is this: you have been defining yourself primarily by what you have endured, by the scars you carry, rather than by the divine mandate of what you have been called to. And these two things, though they may seem intertwined, are fundamentally different. Your trauma is real. Your pain is valid. It deserves to be acknowledged and processed. But it was never intended to become your identity. It was meant to become your testimony. And there is a vast, profound difference between carrying a story, a narrative of overcoming, and being buried alive beneath its weight. One empowers you, giving you a voice that resonates with authenticity and hope. The other silences you, trapping you in a perpetual cycle of victimhood. God has been laboring to help you carry it, to let it become a powerful testament to His grace, not to be consumed by its darkness. And the transition between those two postures, from being consumed to carrying as a testimony, is where your most significant breakthrough truly lives and breathes. And this brings us to something that many people are simply not prepared to hear. Coming up next, we will explore the one thing you have been mistakenly calling wisdom that has, in reality, been holding you captive, acting as a subtle but powerful hostage-taker of your destiny. It always surprises people when it's revealed, because it doesn't look like a limitation at all. It looks, feels, and sounds like profound discernment. The thing is, and this requires an honest, unflinching look in the mirror, there is a version of caution that is in fact just fear wearing a sophisticated theological disguise. There is a version of waiting on God that is actually nothing more than avoidance dressed up in the sacred language of spiritual patience. There is a version of protecting your peace that is really, at its core, just the fierce protection of the familiar, the comfortable, the known. And God will not validate that particular version, no matter how many times you bring it to Him in earnest prayer, no matter how eloquently you articulate its rationale. Because He can see the stark, undeniable difference between faith-led patience that propels you forward and fear-led stagnation that keeps you immobilized, even when you yourself cannot. He sees when you are waiting in a posture of radical trust and when you are hiding in the suffocating embrace of hesitation. And He is not moved by the eloquent language you use to describe it, by the spiritual jargon you employ. He is moved by what is actually happening in the deepest recesses of your spirit. Elijah, that mighty prophet, sat under a broom tree and, in the depths of his despair, asked God to let him die. This was not a display of weakness in the biblical sense, but rather a profound exhaustion after an epic spiritual war. But notice carefully what God did. He didn't rebuke him for his despair. He didn't immediately bombard him with a grand vision. He didn't chastise him by reminding him of his powerful calling or attempting to correct his theology in that moment of profound need. Instead, God fed him. He let him rest. He showed up in the most practical, tangible ways. Because sometimes what we spiritualize as a crisis of faith is in reality a fundamental crisis of the body, the mind, the soul, and God, in His boundless kindness and wisdom, is more than willing to meet us right there in the trenches of our human experience before he ever moves us forward into greater purpose. But here is the critical piece, the element that Elijah, and by extension you, must engage with. Elijah had to get up. The angel said, "Arise and eat," not because the food itself was the ultimate destination or the final answer, but because the arduous journey ahead required him to move. And that essential movement, that spark of active participation, had to begin with him. That, my friend, is precisely where you are right now. The provision has already touched you in some way. The word has already been spoken over you, a divine decree echoing in the spiritual realm. The angel, a messenger of God's intent, has already been dispatched on your behalf. But at some point, and that point is closer than you might possibly think, you have to arise. Not when you feel perfectly ready. Not when every single molecule of fear has completely dissipated. Not when every single lingering question has been definitively answered. You arise because He, your Creator, has commanded it. You arise because the journey that lies ahead is far too great, far too significant for where you are currently situated. You arise because staying put, remaining stagnant, is no longer an option that can be credibly disguised as wisdom. It is an option that is now merely comfort masquerading as prudence, and heaven itself is calling you higher, beckoning you towards a greater unfolding. And here is the part you probably did not expect, the element that often catches people completely off guard, the true thing that has been blocking you, the real obstacle, the hidden impediment, is not the enemy. It is not your past, however painful or challenging it may have been. It isn't even the people who misunderstood you, who walked away, or who actively worked against you in their own limited understanding. The thing that has been most powerfully blocking your progress, the deepest obstruction, is the secret image you carry within you of a version of yourself that is simply not allowed to be great. A version of yourself that feels somehow more acceptable to God, more palatable, when it stays small, when it remains unassuming, when it doesn't dare to step into its full, God-ordained potential. And that limiting image was never placed in you by heaven. It was insidiously implanted by every voice, every experience that ever made you feel like your light was too bright, your calling was too bold, your vision was too expansive for someone of your perceived stature or background. And you internalized those voices, allowing them to become your internal operating system. And now, that internalized voice often sounds like humility. But true humility does not shrink from what God has ordained for you. It simply refuses to take credit for it. There is a profound vital difference. And until that internal image shifts, until the picture of who you are actually allowed to be aligns fully and authentically with the magnificent identity God created for you, nothing else, no external circumstance or divine blessing, will truly hold its transformative power. You were not created merely to survive this season. You were created to be profoundly transformed by it. You were not given this arduous, often challenging journey so that one day perhaps you might finally be allowed to become something significant. You were already something before the journey even began. This journey is simply the divine crucible through which heaven proves it to you, proves it for everyone who is watching your life unfold and needs to see with undeniable clarity that what God promises, He infallibly performs. So, before you close your eyes tonight, place your hand on your heart, feel the steady beat of life within you, and declare this truth with me with unwavering conviction. I release every false image of myself that was built by rejection, by comparison, by seasons I tragically misread as punishment. I break agreement with every lie that has ever told me I was too late, too broken, too ordinary for the magnificent purpose God has placed within me. I receive the truth that my hiding was never abandonment, it was sacred preparation. I receive the truth that my suffering was never evidence of God's distance, it was the undeniable proof of His profound investment in my becoming. I arise from every place where comfort silently morphed into captivity. I step forward not because the grip of fear has completely vanished, but because the power of my faith is now demonstrably greater. I declare that I am not who they said I was. I am not merely the sum of what I have been through. I am chosen. I am being meticulously built. I am unequivocally ready, and everything that God has ever spoken over my life, every whispered word, every unwavering promise, every quiet confirmation that echoed in the stillness of the night, I receive it now, fully, completely, without shrinking back, without apology, without further delay. The breakthrough is not a distant hope, it is an immediate reality, and I walk into it now as the magnificent person heaven always knew I would become. If this message found you today, it was not by accident. It was divinely orchestrated. Share it with someone who desperately needs to hear that they are not forgotten, that their season of preparation is leading to purpose. Drop a word in the comments below. Tell me what God specifically confirmed in your spirit today. What truth resonated most deeply? And if you are truly ready to go even deeper into the profound patterns God uses to prepare His chosen ones, the link in the first pinned comment has everything you need to take the next essential step on this transformative journey.